Chapter 3758. Alright, since everyone is here, let's start the Resource Alliance. I believe everyone knows the rules. Like before, every faction will send out 16 people to participate. There will be 2 rounds and the points will be accumulated. After the 2 rounds, whichever faction has the highest accumulated points will be ranked first. The rankings will be based on the points. The first round will be a team battle. However, it won't be a team competition. Instead, the team will enter an array space to kill desolate beasts and earn points. The second round will be the classic arena battle. Lots will be drawn and the teams will fight in pairs. It's best to calculate the points according to the rankings of each faction. Alright, those who are going to fight, come up. I want to record it. The Great Heaven Sect leader simply announced the rules. As for the specific rules, everyone already knew about them. Lu Ming, Han Xiling and the rest stood up and stepped forward to the space in front. The other factions did the same. Every faction had 16 people. They were all young men and women. Some were cold, some were arrogant, and so on. Opposite Lu Ming and the rest, there was a faction Sky Pride sizing them up. This faction was the Black Blood Hall. The people from the Black Blood Hall swept their gazes across them, and finally landed on Lu Ming. The Feng City Sword Sect even sent out a 5th-level Divine Lord. Is there no one else to send? Definitely no one. How many Sky Prides can the Feng City Sword Sect send out? Moreover, with their strength, how many external aids can they get? What a disgrace. I heard that the Feng City Sword Sect is ambitious and wants to rush into the top 10. With such strength, it's a fool's dream. They better not be at the bottom. A few Sky Prides from the Black Blood Hall sneered and discussed. They did not suppress their voices and it spread out clearly. Many people heard it. Some people from the other forces glanced at Lu Ming, revealing looks of disdain. A 5th-level Divine Lord was indeed not enough. These words made the other Sky Prides from the Feng City Sword Sect turn red with embarrassment. I don't know what the sect leader is thinking. He actually allowed this trash to participate in the Resource Alliance, and embarrassed us. The number 1 Sky Pride from the Feng City Sword Sect, Qi Ping, snorted. He was very unhappy. That's right, that's right. The other people from the Fengdu Sword Sect quickly agreed. However, Lu Ming's expression remained calm. He had done all of this on purpose. If he did not release his aura, these people would not be able to sense his cultivation at all. He deliberately released his aura, so that these people could sense it, and make them look down on him. If these people looked down on him, it would be easier for him to take action later. If his performance was too dazzling at the beginning, he would be targeted instead. The sect leader of the Great Heaven Sect took out a jade token. The jade token shone brightly and shone on everyone. This way, their auras would be recorded. It would be impossible to change people halfway through. Then the Great Sky Sect leader waved his hand, and a total of 18 array discs flew into the sky. 18 formation plates floated in one direction, emitting a bright light. Then, with the formation plates as the center, pitch-black vortexes appeared one after another. This was a spatial tunnel. Alright, for the first round, every force will enter an array space. These 18 array spaces are the same, and the strength of the desolate beasts inside are about the same. Your objective in entering is to hunt down the desolate beasts, find the crystal cores in the desolate beasts, and bring them out. However, let me tell you, not all desolate beasts have crystal cores. In fact, there are very few desolate beasts that have crystal cores. Moreover, there are 3 types of crystal cores. The first type is the black crystal core, which is worth 1 point. The second type is the silver crystal core, which is worth 10 points. The third type is the gold crystal core, which is worth 100 points. The time limit is 3 days. After 3 days, you will be automatically teleported out. At that time, the total points obtained by each force will be tabulated. Go in. The Great Sky Sect leader announced. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, the geniuses of the 18 forces moved and flew towards the spatial vortex above their heads. They rushed into the spatial vortex and disappeared. Lu Ming, Han Xiling, and the rest also flew into the vortexes and disappeared. The emperor gods of the various forces could only wait patiently. This was a contest between the younger generation. They could not interfere. They could only pray silently that their side could achieve a good result. Lu Ming flew into the vortexes. In the next moment he appeared on a plain. Beside him, Han Xiling, Qi Ping, Wang Zhangke, Han Feng, and the rest were together. Next, what should we do? Which direction should we go first? A Fengdu sword sect disciple asked. Hunting the desolate beasts was easy. However, there were not many desolate beasts that had crystal cores. It was not easy to obtain crystal cores. They had to plan carefully. What should we do? It's simple. Split up. The one who spoke was Han Feng. Split up. The sect leader has warned us that the desolate beasts here are very fast. We need to surround them so that we can kill them faster. If we split up, our efficiency will be greatly reduced. Han Xiling said. Surround them together? Hehe, with your strength? To put it bluntly, joining forces with you will only hinder us. Our efficiency will be even lower. Do you understand? Han Feng sneered with a look of disdain. You. Han Xiling's face was flushed red. That's right. Especially Mu Yun. With such a low cultivation, he will only be a hindrance if he follows us. Let's split up. Qi Ping added. His eyes flickered as if he was planning something bad. After saying that, he cupped his fists at Han Feng and said with a flattering face, Young Master Han, I think that if Mu Yun alone is not enough, the rest will be of some help. Young Master Han Feng. Why don't you bring them along? That's fine too. Let's do it this way. Mu Yun, you go alone. Han Feng looked at Lu Ming and said indifferently. How can you let Brother Mu go alone? We need Brother Mu's combat strength. Han Xiling said loudly. Need his strength? Ha ha ha, a 5th level divine monarch? Ha ha ha. Han Feng, Qi Ping, and the rest laughed contemptuously. Miss Xiling, it's fine. I will go alone. At this moment Lu Ming spoke. He did not care. He had promised sect leader Wang that he would do his best. Going alone was going to be the same as going with many people. As long as he had a clear conscience, it was fine. As for what kind of results he could achieve, he could not be bothered. Brother Mu, I will go with you, Han Xiling said and came to Lu Ming's side. No, you have to go with us. This time, I am the leader. Han Feng shouted coldly, his eyes revealing a look of jealousy. Yesterday, he invited Han Xiling for a meal, but was rejected by Han Xiling, and wanted to follow Lu Ming. Now, she actually wanted to follow Lu Ming, which made him furious. Who was Lu Ming? How could he be compared to him? Chapter 3759. Han Xiling snorted. That's right, Han Feng was indeed the team leader this time. Since his cultivation was the highest, at the Quasi-Emperor realm, sect leader Wang had given the position to him. He had allowed him to unify the layout. However, she could ignore Han Feng's unreasonable demands. Let's go, Lu Ming said and turned to leave. Han Xiling followed Lu Ming and disappeared into the depths of the plain in the blink of an eye. He really wants to do things the hard way. Han Feng's eyes flashed with killing intent. Brother Han, do you want me to go over and teach that Mu Yun a lesson? Qi Ping said. Not for now. After the competition, I'll teach him a lesson. Han Feng said coldly, and then a disc array appeared in his hand. Every faction has a disc array that can sense if there are crystal cores in the wild beasts within 100,000 miles. That kid left alone. Without a disc array, he can only hunt wild beasts like a blind man. He can only rely on his luck and won't gain anything. When he goes out, I'll humiliate him. Han Feng sneered. That's right. Every faction had such a disc array, and the purpose was to reduce the difficulty of obtaining crystal cores. There was only one disc array, and it depended on how each faction used it. Sect leader Wang handed the disc array to Han Feng for safekeeping. Lu Ming didn't know that there was such a disc array. Hehe. Qi Ping sneered. Han Feng looked at the disc array carefully and said, to the front left, there's a crystal core reaction there. In a flash, Han Feng and the others flew to the front left. As for Lu Ming and Han Xiling, they headed to the right. This array world was very vast. It was refined by the emissaries of the Heavenly Palace in the past. It was specially made for the factions in the Iron Sea Star Zone to use for the Resource Alliance competition. There were all kinds of wild beasts here, but these wild beasts were all condensed by the array. Only the crystal cores in some wild beasts were real. They were also condensed by the array absorbing the energy of heaven and earth. They could be taken out and had a unique mark, so people couldn't cheat in advance. Lu Ming and Han Xiling flew for tens of thousands of miles on the vast plain. Roar, roar, roar on the plains. A group of grassland lions charged towards Lu Ming and the others. There were more than 100 of them. The moment Lu Ming sensed, he discovered that these grassland lions' cultivations were mostly at the 6th level Divine Lord realm. Some reached the 7th level Divine Lord realm. It was not easy to hunt these grassland lions, let alone obtain their crystal cores. Therefore Qi Ping, Han Feng, and the others felt that Lu Ming and Han Xiling wouldn't be able to obtain many crystal cores. If they were lucky enough to get a few pieces, it would be considered not bad. The grassland lion was extremely fast. It came and went like the wind. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of Lu Ming and the others. Whoosh! Whoosh! Before Han Xiling could make a move, Lu Ming waved his hand and activated the sword-type secret technique in his cells. Hundreds of sword lights burst out and slashed at these prairie lions. Bang, bang, bang. As the sword light slashed through, all of the grassland lions instantly exploded, turning into energy and disappearing. Not a single crystal core. Lu Ming glanced around and was a little disappointed. After killing more than 100 grassland lions, they didn't find a single crystal core, not even the lowest grade crystal core. It was obvious that it wasn't easy to obtain crystal cores. Humph, that Qi Ping and Han Feng are short-sighted. If we cooperate with Brother Mu, our plentiful city sword sect will definitely be able to obtain a large number of crystal cores. After we get out, I will complain to the sect master. Han Xiling gritted her teeth and said. Seeing Lu Ming's strength, she was even more furious. Lu Ming smiled faintly and continued forward. Following that, they encountered a few more groups of grassland lions. After killing them, they still didn't obtain any crystal cores. Soon, they had traveled more than 100,000 miles. Caw, caw, caw. In the sky, a large number of giant birds flew over. These giant birds were green in color. Wrapped in the wind, they flew at an astonishing speed. So many. There should be crystal cores, right? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This group of green giant birds definitely numbered in the thousands. Furthermore, their auras were robust. The weakest was a 6th level Divine Lord. The strongest was shockingly a 9th level Divine Lord existence. With so many numbers, forget about 5th level or 6th level Divine Lords. Even if a quasi-emperor encountered them, they could only flee without a trace. Otherwise, they would be besieged to death by this large group of green giant birds. But to Lu Ming it was nothing. The more desolate beasts he encountered, the better. Lu Ming did not have the slightest consideration, directly rushing over and unleashing a massacre. He was like a tiger entering a flock of sheep, incomparably berserk. Each move would have a large number of green giant birds killed. Regardless of whether it was 6th level Divine Lords, 7th level Divine Lords, or 8th level Divine Lords, they were all not his match. Gajj, these green giant birds cried out loudly, flapping their wings. Densely packed green sharp blades slashed towards Lu Ming. But Lu Ming did not dodge or avoid, allowing these attacks to land on his body. He was completely fine, unable to break his defense at all. Very soon, Lu Ming had killed more than 1,000 of the thousands of giant green birds. That is, Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. In the air, there were 2 black crystal cores floating. Each crystal core was about the size of a longan. They were dropped from the few green giant birds that were killed by Lu Ming. With a flash, he grabbed the 2 black crystal cores in his hand. Finally, he obtained 2 black crystal cores worth 2 points. Putting away the black crystal cores, Lu Ming continued to kill. Han Xiling could almost not intervene, and could only hunt some green giant birds that were alone by the side. Jie gave soon. More than half of the green giant birds were killed. The remaining ones scattered in a hubbub, fleeing in all directions. Lu Ming chased after them. Lu Ming's body cells were integrated with a large number of speed-type mystic arts. When they erupted together, his speed was astonishingly fast. He flashed nonstop. With each flash, a green giant bird was killed, falling on the spot. Not long after, most of the green giant birds were killed, turning into energy and vanishing. And Lu Ming already obtained 6 black crystal cores. Looks like I still have to find a large group of desolate beasts to better obtain the crystal cores. Lu Ming pondered. After that, he and Han Xiling left this place, specifically looking for a large group of desolate beasts. A day later, they indeed had a bountiful harvest. They had already obtained a total of 30 black crystal cores. However, they did not obtain a single silver crystal core or a single gold crystal core. On this day, they left the range of the grassland and came to a desolate mountain forest. Roar in the mountain forest, there were loud roars constantly coming. There are quite a number of desolate beasts. Then let's kill them one by one. Whether we can get enough crystal cores will depend on luck. Anyway, I've tried my best. Lu Ming pondered, then rushed into the mountain forest, pushing his way through. Here not only were there 9th level Divine Lord desolate beasts, there were also Quasi-Emperor level desolate beasts. They were all killed by Lu Ming. After Lu Ming killed more than a dozen Quasi-Emperor level desolate beasts, he finally obtained a silver crystal core. Chapter 3760. A silver crystal core was worth 10 points, but the probability of it appearing was very low. He had only obtained one after killing a dozen Quasi-Emperor level wild beasts. It seemed like he could only obtain a golden crystal core by killing a Divine Emperor Realm wild beast. How many people could kill a Divine Emperor Realm wild beast? Lu Ming naturally wouldn't go out of his way to hunt a Divine Emperor Realm wild beast. Lu Ming continued to hunt in the forest. As for Han Xiling, she was only a 6th layer Divine Monarch. Even if her battle strength was comparable to a 7th layer Divine Monarch, she wouldn't be of much help. Soon 3 days passed. Time was up. Lu Ming obtained a total of 100 black crystal cores and 5 silver crystal cores. His total score was 150 points. As for Han Xiling, she only obtained 2 pitiful black crystal cores. Looking at the 2 pitiful black crystal cores in her hands, Han Xiling's face flushed red. Buzz. At this moment, there was a tremor in the space. A gush of energy acted on Lu Ming and Han Xiling. Once the time was up, the power of the array would send them out of this space. The space flashed, and in the next moment, Lu Ming and Han Xiling reappeared in the sky above the Alliance City's square. Looking around, he saw Han Feng, Qi Ping, and the rest beside him. Han Feng, Qi Ping, and the rest glanced at Lu Ming with disdain. Let's go. Give the crystal cores to Sect Leader Wang. Han Feng took the lead and walked towards Sect Leader Wang. Sect Leader Wang quickly flew over. How is it? How's the harvest? Sect Leader Wang asked expectantly. Not bad. After saying that, Han Feng waved his hand, and pieces of crystal cores flew out. A total of 360 black crystal cores and 6 silver crystal cores. Han Feng said. 360 black crystal cores and 6 silver crystal cores added up to 420 points. As for the golden crystal cores, it was impossible for Han Feng and the rest to obtain them. Only Divine Emperor Realm wild beasts had them. Even the silver crystal cores were hard to obtain. For example, Han Feng and the rest. Han Feng's cultivation was at the Quasi-Emperor Realm. However, he was a top-notch genius. His battle prowess was strong and he could kill ordinary Quasi-Emperors. In addition, the Sacred Heart race and the Purple-Eyed Golden Geese race had 3 9th-level Divine Lord prodigies in total. Their battle prowess could barely contend with a Boundary Emperor. As for the others, they could not do anything to the Quasi-Emperor. On average, a dozen Quasi-Emperor desolate beasts would only produce 1 silver crystal core. Hence, it was already not bad for them to obtain 6 silver crystal cores. So little. Sect Leader Wang's face darkened slightly. This was not the result he wanted. He knew that with Han Feng and Lu Ming's strength, it would not be difficult for them to kill Quasi-Emperors. There should be more than 6 silver crystal cores. What's going on? This result is already not bad. After all, I'm the only one who can really kill a Quasi-Emperor. To be able to obtain 6 silver crystal cores is already not bad. Seeing that Sect Leader Wang seemed a little unhappy, Han Feng's face darkened as he said coldly, "Only one person can kill a Quasi-Emperor?" Sect Leader Wang was stunned. Couldn't Lu Ming do it too? Could it be that Lu Ming did not make a move? Sect Leader Wang could not help but look at Lu Ming. Sect Leader, Han Feng and the rest did not want me to go with Mu Yun. The two of us went alone. Han Xiling quickly explained. They did not want you to go alone. After sect leader Wang heard this, he could not help but feel angry. Lu Ming, who had such a strong battle prowess, was actually separated by Han Feng and went alone? No wonder they obtained so little. Damn it. If he had known this would happen, he would have told Han Feng, Qi Ping, and the rest about Lu Ming's true battle prowess and asked them to cooperate. The two of them are just a hindrance if they go with us. If they really went with us, we might not have obtained so many points. Han Feng continued. Finally, he said impatiently to Lu Ming and the rest, all right, hand over the crystal cores you obtained. Do you have any? Maybe you didn't even get a single one. Hee. Black crystal cores were not that easy to obtain. One needed to kill large numbers of desolate beasts to obtain them. And the desolate beasts in the array world, the weakest were virtually all 6th level Divine Lord. Lu Ming and Han Xiling, one 5th level Divine Lord and one 6th level Divine Lord respectively. Facing large numbers of desolate beasts, it was already not bad to be able to preserve their lives. Yet they still wanted to obtain crystal cores. He looked at Lu Ming with a cold smile, waiting to see Lu Ming make a fool of himself. Previously, he did not let Lu Ming go with them. Wasn't it for this scene? Mu Yun, how many crystal cores did you obtain? Still not handing them over? Don't worry with your cultivation. We won't have high hopes for you. Every point counts. Hurry up. Qi Ping also urged, impatient to see Lu Ming make a fool of himself so that he could mock him in public. If you want to see, then look carefully. Lu Ming said nonchalantly. Then, a storage ring appeared in his hand. You really know how to pretend to be useful and still use a storage ring to store them? Making it seem like there are many pieces, Qi Ping ridiculed. In the next moment he shut his mouth. His eyes widened and his mouth opened wider and wider. Because pieces of black crystal cores flew out from Lu Ming's storage ring. A total of 102 pieces. Han Xiling's 2 pieces of black crystal cores were also placed together with Lu Ming. This, Qi Ping, Han Feng, and the rest almost bit their tongues. How could Lu Ming obtain so many crystal cores? With his cultivation, how did he do it? They felt that their minds couldn't wrap around the turn of events. But in the next moment, their eyeballs almost popped out because 5 more crystal cores flew out from the storage ring. 5 silver crystal cores that were extremely dazzling. Sect Master, the two of us only obtained 152 points. We have embarrassed the Fengdu Sword sect. Lu Ming handed the crystal cores to Sect Master Wang and said. He purposely emphasized the words 2 of us. Han Feng's, Qi Ping's, and the rest's faces turned red. Lu Ming and Han Xiling, one of them was a 5th level Divine Lord while the other was a 6th level Divine Lord. Both of them obtained 152 points. And the 14 of them, especially the 5 heavenly talents who came as external aids, the weakest cultivation was an 8th level Divine Lord while Han Feng was a quasi-emperor. With so many of them, they only obtained 420 points. In comparison, weren't they trash? Fire. Fury. Han Feng felt that the fury in his body was about to explode. Impossible, you're a 5th level Divine Lord trash. How could you obtain so many crystal cores? And there are even 5 silver crystal cores. This is impossible. Han Feng growled as his eyes stared at Lu Ming. Of course, I obtained them from hunting desolate beasts. Otherwise, what do you think? Lu Ming casually glanced at Han Feng and said, obtained them from hunting desolate beasts? Nonsense, with your 5th level Divine Lord cultivation, it's absolutely impossible. Han Feng's face was gloomy and filled with killing intent. He stared at Lu Ming and said, speak, how did you obtain them? Chapter 3761. Frogs in a Well. Lu Ming said emotionlessly and ignored Han Feng. This simple sentence almost made Han Feng and Qi Ping explode with anger. If sect leader Wang and the other leaders were not here, they would have attacked Lu Ming and the rest. Humph! Do you really think that you got it by hunting the wild beasts? Who would believe that? Only fools would believe that. You must have gotten it by luck through some unknown means. In the end, Han Feng snorted. He would never believe that Lu Ming got it by hunting the wild beasts, especially the silver crystal core. He knew how hard it was to get a silver crystal core. On average, They had to kill more than a dozen boundary emperors to get one silver crystal core. More than a dozen of them had worked together and put in a lot of effort to get 6 silver crystal cores. Lu Ming and Han Xiling could get 5 silver crystal cores? Didn't that mean that Lu Ming and Han Xiling would be able to kill dozens of quasi-emperor-level desolate beasts? That was impossible. Not to mention the Fengdu sword sect. Even the Sacred Heart tribe did not have such powerful supreme talents who could kill so many boundary emperors as level 5 or level 6 divine lords. Therefore, this possibility could be ruled out. He reckoned that Lu Ming and Han Xiling were lucky. They had obtained so many star cores through a method that he did not understand. Alright, let's end this here. Take a rest and prepare for the second round of the competition. Sect leader Wang raised his hand and stopped Lu Ming and Han Feng from talking further. However, he was unhappy with Han Feng. If Han Feng and Lu Ming were to fight together, they would get more points. The Resource Alliance calculated the total points of the 2 rounds and ranked them according to the total points. The higher the total points, the higher the ranking. Of course, sect leader Wang was unhappy, but he did not show it on his face. After all, he still had to rely on Han Feng and the rest for the second round. Alright, leaders of the various forces, bring the crystal cores over for calculation. The sect leader of the great sect said. Sect leader Wang kept the crystal cores and went to do the calculation. The 18 forces took turns to take out the crystal cores. The first one was the Great Sky Sect. Everyone turned to look at one of the elders of the Great Sky Sect. The crystal core that the Great Sky Sect had obtained was with this elder. Everyone wanted to know how many crystal cores the Great Sky Sect could obtain. The elder of the Great Heaven Sect was expressionless. He waved his hand and many crystal cores flew out. A burst of dazzling golden light pierced everyone's eyes, causing their hearts to beat violently. A golden crystal core. The Great Sky Sect actually had a golden crystal core. Those who knew the inside story all knew what a golden crystal core represented. One had to kill a wild beast that was equivalent to the Divine Emperor realm in order to obtain the golden crystal core. Furthermore, he probably had to kill more than one to obtain it. This meant that there was someone from the Great Hong Sect who could kill a divine emperor. The crowd could not help but think that the Great Sky Sect had invited the supreme talent of the Ziying tribe, which was ranked 99th on the primitive tribe board. Obviously, this was done by the supreme talent of the Ziying tribe. The Great Sky Sect definitely did not have such a powerful supreme talent. To be able to kill a divine emperor, this is terrifying. The Great Hong Sect is in first place again. It's hard to say. I don't know if the other superpowers have invited such powerful reinforcements. However, based on the overall ranking, the Great Hong Sect is indeed stronger. The crowd discussed fervently. Many of the young supreme talents turned pale, and their faces turned solemn. They secretly decided that if they encountered the Ziying tribe in the second round of the competition, they would surrender immediately. Only a few forces had normal expressions on their faces. Interesting. Lu Ming's eyes lit up, and he was filled with fighting spirit. Initially, he was not interested in the Resource Alliance because he did not have an opponent who could make him take seriously. For example, Han Feng might seem powerful, but if Lu Ming went all out, he could easily defeat Han Feng. Although Han Feng was powerful, he was not powerful enough to fight against a divine emperor. But now Lu Ming was interested. Lu Ming was only a step away from the Divine Lord's 6th realm. If a powerful opponent gave him immense pressure, he might be able to stimulate his potential and make a breakthrough. Soon, the Great Hong Sect's points were tabulated. A total of 1,200 points. The Fengdu Sword Sect's points were less than half of the Great Hong Sect's points. This made the other superpowers who wanted to fight for first place turn solemn. Then the other superpowers started to tabulate their points. In the end, the Great Hong Sect had the most points and was firmly in first place. The superpower in second place had 1,100 points, which was almost 100 points less than the Great Hong Sect. The Fengdu Sword Sect had exceeded the expectations of many superpowers. They were in 10th place in the first round of the competition, overtaking their old rival, the Black Blood Hall. Damn it. Some of the experts from the Black Blood Hall were unhappy. It's alright. We are still 50 points behind them. The first round of the competition depended more on luck. Perhaps they were lucky. But the second round will depend on strength. In the second round, we will easily overtake them. A young man with a blood-colored horn on his head said in the Black Blood Hall. This person was the reinforcements that the Black Blood Hall had invited. He was a supreme talent from a powerful tribe. That's right. The second round will depend on you. The hall master of the Black Blood Hall smiled faintly. The young man with the blood-colored horn was called Wei Jin. He was a supreme talent from the Blood Ant tribe, and was a boundary emperor. The Blood Ant tribe was ranked 566 on the primitive 10,000 tribes board, and was much stronger than the Sacred Heart tribe. This time, the hall master had paid a huge price to invite Wei Jin. His goal was to be in the top 10 or even higher. The hall master was relieved when he thought of Wei Jin's strength. He had seen Wei Jin fight with his own eyes. Although Wei Jin was only a boundary emperor, he had fought with a first-layer god emperor for more than 10 moves before he was at a disadvantage. Ordinary boundary emperors could only be killed by a divine emperor. A divine emperor could kill a large number of boundary emperors with a wave of his hand. Being able to block a divine emperor's attack without dying was already shocking enough, not to mention being in a disadvantageous position after exchanging more than 10 moves. With such combat strength, other than the supreme talent from the Ziying tribe that the Great Hong sect had invited, Wei Jin was almost invincible. Hence, the hall master was confident. Sect leader Wang flew back with a smile on his face. He was satisfied to be in the top 10 in the first round. However, he felt that it was a pity. If Lu Ming had teamed up with Han Feng in the first round, the Fengdu Sword sect would have gained more points. Alright, the points of the first round are out. Let's start the second round. The Great Hong sect leader announced. Then a group of experts flew out. This group of experts came from 18 different forces, and each force participated in the second round to ensure fairness. These experts moved their hands and runes appeared one after another. In the next moment, 18 battle stages gradually appeared in the sky. Chapter 3762. 18 huge fighting stages floated in the air. The fighting stages were huge and black in color. They looked like they were made of a strange metal. There were runes on them and they looked heavy as if they were indestructible. The rules of the second round are as follows. First, I will split the 18 forces into 18 fighting stages. There will be 16 people on each stage. These 16 people will take turns to fight. Everyone will fight with the other 15 people. Finally, the 4 people with the best results on each stage will advance to the next round. Those who advance will receive 100 points. Those who don't advance will receive no points. In the end, 72 people will advance to the next round of the 18 fighting stages. These 72 people will then fight one-on-one to determine the strongest 9 people. These 9 people will then take turns to fight each other to determine the final ranking. The Grand Patriarch continued to announce. No one was surprised. They already knew about this rule. This was the most classic fighting stage rule, and it was also the fairest. Many forces would use this rule for the competition. Lu Ming had seen many of these rules along the way. The more he fought, the more points he would receive. The 72 people who advanced to the next round would receive 100 points. After that, they would fight one-on-one and advance to the next round. The 36 people who advanced to the next round would receive 200 points. The 36 people who advanced to the next round would receive 300 points. The 18 people who advanced to the next round would receive 500 points. For a force, the more people who advanced to the next round, the more points they would receive. Once they were in the top 3, they would receive additional rewards. Hence, for a top-notch Sky Pride, the points they would receive would be shocking. Now, I will call out the names and assign you to your fighting stages. Number 1 Fighting Stage, Martial Arts University Yaolin. Number 2 Fighting Stage. Number 3 Fighting Stage Muyun. The Grand Sky Sect Master read out a list of names and assigned everyone to the 18 fighting stages. Those whose names were called would head to the corresponding fighting stage. Lu Ming was assigned to number 3 fighting stage. Soon, the assignment was completed. Lu Ming glanced around and knew what was going on. The 18 forces each had 16 people, and they were assigned to 18 fighting stages. There were almost no repetitions. There would only be one person from the same force on each fighting stage. This was for fairness so that everyone could give it their all. Swish. Swish. With a flash, a figure appeared on each of the fighting stages. These were the elders from the various factions, and they were here to act as judges. On the third platform was a green-haired middle-aged man. My name is Lu Feichuan. I'm the judge of the third platform. Next, I will arrange your battles. In this battle, there's only a winner and a loser, not a life and death battle. So if you feel that you can't win, it's best that you admit defeat as soon as possible. If you don't admit defeat and are killed or injured, you will have to bear the consequences. Lu Feichuan shouted. Understood. Lu Ming and the others replied. All right, the first match, Muyin Zhongfei, come up. Lu Feichuan shouted. I'm the first one. Lu Ming was slightly taken aback, but it didn't matter. In any case, he had to fight with the other 15 people. It didn't matter if it was morning or night. He stepped out and landed on the battle stage. On the other side, a burly young man also landed on the fighting ring. His name was Zhongfei. Zhongfei swept his gaze over Lu Ming, revealing a hint of contempt at the corners of his mouth. 5th level Divine Lord? I advise you to admit defeat, lest you look for a beating. Zhongfei smiled casually as a powerful aura emanated from his body. 6th level Divine Lord, 1 level higher than Lu Ming. Although there was no lack of Heaven's Prides in this world who could jump levels to fight, he was a Heaven's Pride himself. Even if Lu Ming could jump levels, he couldn't surpass him. So when he saw that Lu Ming was only a 5th level Divine Lord, he was very relaxed. This sentence is what I want to say to you. If you admit defeat, you will be injured by me and affect the rest of the battle. Lu Ming said. You're quite stubborn. I wonder if your strength is as strong as yours. Take this. Zhongfei shouted and stepped on the battle stage. His burly body rushed towards Lu Ming and threw a punch at Lu Ming. Wind God Kick. Lu Ming's mind stirred and he kicked out. There were at least dozens of leg-type secret arts fused in his feet. Once it was activated, it swept towards Zhongfei like a whirlwind. The speed was shockingly fast. Attacking later, but arriving first. Bang! Lu Ming kicked Zhongfei in the face. Zhongfei screamed and flew backward at a speed faster than when he pounced on Lu Ming. He flew out of the fighting ring directly, and fell to the square below. He landed heavily on the ground and vomited blood. Stunned. Zhongfei was completely dumbfounded. His head buzzed nonstop, and his eyes turned white. The people on the third battle stage, and some people who noticed this side were also somewhat stunned. They didn't expect that the outcome of the battle between the two was decided in an instant. Moreover, it was a 5th level Divine Lord who won. Sect Head Wang nodded his head. He wasn't surprised at Lu Ming's victory. And the sect that Zhongfei was in had an expert snorting coldly. He took a few more glances at Lu Ming, and was somewhat displeased. The Heaven's Pride on the third battle stage couldn't help sizing up Lu Ming. Some people's eyes were solemn, some had indifferent expressions, and some were disdainful. On the other battle stages, there were also a few people paying attention to this side. For example, Han Feng, Qi Ping, and the others. They hated Lu Ming to the extreme. On their side, before it was their turn to fight, they noticed that Lu Ming was fighting on the third battle stage. They naturally looked over, wanting to see how Lu Ming was suppressed. They never expected that Lu Ming would defeat his opponent in one move. He has some strength. No wonder he's so arrogant. But that's all. He's just a 5th level Divine Lord after all. Han Feng snorted coldly in his heart. He was even more displeased when he didn't see Lu Ming being oppressed. Qi Ping also had the same feeling. There are a few people on the third battle stage who are very strong. Let's see how long this brat can be proud of himself. Qi Ping thought coldly in his heart. Mu Yin wins. Lu Feichuan also sized up Lu Ming a few more times before announcing Lu Ming's victory. Lu Ming left the battle stage, and Lu Feichuan announced the next group's battle. The competition continued. On the third battle stage, there was only one person who attracted Lu Ming's attention. Because this person's cultivation was even stronger, reaching the quasi-emperor realm. He was a Heaven's Pride from a powerful race, and was invited by a force as external aid. He easily dealt with his opponent in one move. As for the remaining people, The highest was only a 9th level Divine Lord. They didn't attract Lu Ming's interest. Soon, 18 people and 9 groups finished their matches. Mu Yun, Chonghu, come on stage and fight. Lu Feichuan called out Lu Ming's name again. Lu Ming stepped onto the battle stage. At the same time, another youth also stepped onto the battle stage. This was a youth wearing wings. As soon as he stepped onto the stage, his body rapidly expanded and turned into his original form, a giant bird. No, it should be the primordial divine body. Chapter 3763. Chonghu unleashed his primordial divine body, and an ancient aura spread out. It was obvious that his primordial divine body was extremely powerful. 9th stage. Lu Ming sensed that Chonghu's primordial divine body had already reached the 9th stage, and he wasn't far from condensing the primordial divine blood. Of course, it wasn't that easy to take that step. It required talent and luck. Chonghu's primordial divine body attracted many people's attention. What a powerful aura. 8th level Divine Lord. 8th level Divine Lord against a 5th level Divine Lord. There's no suspense. That person seems to be the external aid that the Black Blood Hall invited. Many people were discussing. The people from the Black Blood Hall sneered. Han Feng, Qi Ping, and the others below the battle stage were also paying attention. Previously, Han Feng and another youth from the Sacred Heart race had obtained victory in the other battle stages. The 3 purple-eyed golden geese had also obtained victory. However, Qi Ping was unlucky to have encountered an expert and was defeated. Therefore, his expression was ugly. When he saw that Lu Ming had encountered an expert, he immediately sneered. Mu Yun is definitely going to admit defeat. I really hope that he doesn't. Qi Ping's eyes flickered with cold light. He really hoped that Lu Ming would be stupid and not admit defeat. Then Chonghu would kill him. Of course, he knew that it was impossible. Facing such an opponent, how could Lu Ming not admit defeat? Who among you wants to admit defeat? The referee Lu Fei glanced at Lu Ming as he spoke. In his opinion, the difference between Lu Ming and Chonghu was too big. In the Divine Lord realm, the difference of 3 levels was like heaven and earth. Lu Ming couldn't possibly be Chonghu's opponent. He thought that Lu Ming would admit defeat. However, Lu Ming shook his head. Chonghu revealed a sinister smile. He was the external aid that the Black Blood Hall had paid a huge price to invite. He was paid to help them. The Black Blood Hall's hallmaster had told him that if he encountered someone from the Fengdu sword sect during the competition, he shouldn't be merciful. He originally thought that Lu Ming would admit defeat, but he didn't expect that Lu Ming wouldn't admit defeat. That's even better. He would let Lu Ming know what regret was. He didn't admit defeat? Han Feng, Qi Ping, and the others were stunned. Qi Ping was overjoyed. Haha, this kid is really foolish. Facing an 8th level Divine Lord, he actually didn't admit defeat. Really courting death. Qi Ping nearly laughed out loud. As for Han Feng, he snorted coldly. He's regretted that he couldn't kill him. Initially, he wanted to kill Lu Ming personally after this matter was over. However, it seemed that Lu Ming was simply courting death. He didn't need he himself. Lu Feichuan was also slightly surprised. However, he didn't say anything more. He said, since no one has admitted defeat, let's start the competition. Kill. Lu Feichuan's voice had just faded when Chuchuanqi pounced towards Lu Ming. Chuchuanqi transformed into the primordial divine body. He was a giant bird. Flapping his wings, he brought along a destructive gale as he pounced towards Lu Ming. His wings were like blades, pressing towards Lu Ming. The horrifying power wanted to smash Lu Ming into smithereens. Facing this attack, Lu Ming's expression was the same as usual. Chuchuanqi's combat strength wasn't bad, but he was just a heaven's pride among 8th level divine lords. Actually, back then in the dragon race's mother planet, some of the various races' heaven's pride that Lu Ming encountered already cultivated the primordial divine body to the 9th stage. Some even successfully condensed the primordial divine blood. These top races' top heaven's prides were actually not weak. Therefore, Chuchuanqi was just an ordinary heaven's pride in Lu Ming's eyes. Just as Chuanqi's wings were about to hit Lu Ming made his move. Swoosh. His palm was like a blade, chopping out. Bang. Lu Ming's palm collided with Chuanqi's wings, erupting with an intense rumble. Following that, feathers swirled in the air. Chuan-Chi's massive body flew back, blood splattering everywhere. What? Anyone who was paying attention to this side could not help opening their eyes wide, revealing a look of disbelief. The one who was sent flying was actually not Lu Ming, but Chuan-Chi. Furthermore, Chuan-Chi retreated with injuries. A 5th-level Divine Lord actually injured an 8th-level Divine Lord Heaven's Pride in one move in a head-on battle. How was this possible? The Black Blood Hall's people were stunned. Han Feng, Qi Ping, and the rest were also stunned, unable to wrap their heads around the turn of events for a moment. Before everyone could react, Lu Ming dashed toward Chong Hu to kill him. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and punched out. A terrifying fist force pierced through the void, directly piercing through Chuan-Chi's wings. Then Lu Ming grabbed with a backhand, grabbing Chuan-Chi's tail that rushed out, swinging him up and flinging him towards the ground. With an intense rumble, Chuan-Chi was smashed heavily onto the ground. Unable to maintain his primordial divine body form, he turned into an ordinary giant bird, twitching nonstop. Although Chuan-Chi did not die, he was seriously injured and on the verge of death. Many people who were watching this side were all in a daze. It ended just like that? He won just like that? A 5th-level Divine Lord defeated an 8th-level Divine Lord? Ha ha ha. Sect Head Wang was long mentally prepared, so he was the first to react. He laughed loudly, looking in the direction of Black Blood Hall with a smug look. Only then did everyone react. Black Blood Hall's Hall Master and the other experts of Black Blood Hall had ugly expressions. How is this possible? Qi Ping, Han Feng, and the rest were dumbfounded, their eyes wide open. They had been mocking Lu Ming all along, looking down on Lu Ming. Especially Han Feng, a mere 5th-level Divine Lord, he did not place him in his sights at all. Previously, he was still mocking Lu Ming nonstop. But Lu Ming used practical actions to viciously slap him a few times, making his expression extremely grim. Damn it! Han Feng shouted coldly in his heart, killing intent pervading in his heart. Lu Ming already became his must-kill target. Interesting. What powerful combat strength. At this moment, some of the top heavens prides on the other battle stages also had their gazes drawn. After all, for a 5th-level Divine Lord to be able to defeat an 8th-level Divine Lord, it represented talent and combat strength. Although his cultivation was still low right now, once his cultivation rose up, it would be very terrifying. It already aroused their attention. This battle Mu Yin wins. Lu Feichuan came to his senses and announced Lu Ming's victory. Just like this, Lu Ming obtained 2 consecutive victories. Lu Ming left the battle stage calmly, but it was different from before. Many people's gazes were sweeping over him. One could imagine that the next time he fought, he would attract even more gazes. After Lu Ming left the battle stage, his gaze was also sizing up the other battle stages. Each battle stage had extremely powerful heavens prides on it. There was at least one quasi-emperor. Some battle stages even had more. These people's strengths were very powerful. When others encountered them, virtually all of them admitted defeat. The competition carried out one after another. Very soon, it was Lu Ming's turn to fight again. But the opponent this time was just a 6th-level Divine Lord. The moment he saw Lu Ming, he directly admitted defeat. Chapter 3764. The competition carried out one match after another. The following 7 matches in a row, Lu Ming did not encounter 2 powerful opponents. The one with the highest cultivation was also an 8th-level Divine Lord. After seeing that it was Lu Ming, he hesitated over and over again, and finally still admitted defeat. Just like this, Lu Ming obtained 10 consecutive victories. Lu Ming was only 2 steps away from advancing to the 3rd platform. As long as he obtained 12 victories, he would be able to lock in the group's 4th place and qualify to advance. Once he advanced, the corresponding faction could obtain 100 points. The way everyone saw it, a 5th-level Divine Lord being able to advance was simply inconceivable. But the truth was that Lu Ming was already close. Humph, next, it's all experts. It won't be that easy for him to want to win. Han Feng and Qi Ping both snorted coldly in their hearts. Because next, the experts that Lu Ming encountered would all be 9th-level Divine Lord Heaven's chosen. These heavens chosen were virtually all 4 and 8 heavens chosen invited by various major factions, their strength formidable. Sure enough, in the 11th match, Lu Ming encountered a 9th-level Divine Lord existence. Your strength is very strong, exceeding my expectations. But it's impossible for you to be my match. Opposite Lu Ming, a tall and thin youth looked at Lu Ming with cold eyes. Flames continuously spread out from his body. This youth came from the Blazing Flame Sky Bamboo clan. Blazing Flame Sky Bamboo, a kind of plant life, ranked 4,567 on the primeval 10,000 races proclamation. How would you know without fighting? Make your move. Lu Ming's expression was very calm. Begin. Lu Feichuan announced. Whoosh. The moment Lu Feichuan's voice faded, the Blazing Flame Sky Bamboo heavens chosen made his move. His tall and thin body was akin to a long sword emitting flames, slashing over toward Lu Ming. Scorching flames enveloped toward Lu Ming. In a blink of an eye, the scorching flames arrived in front of Lu Ming. Swoosh. Lu Ming hacked a palm out. The flames that surged over were split into 2 like flowing water. Clank. Lu Ming's palm collided with the Blazing Flame Sky Bamboo's outstanding talent's palm. There was a loud explosion as if 2 divine weapons had collided. Then a figure retreated rapidly. The one who retreated was the Blazing Flame Sky Bamboo prodigy. Many people gasped. Lu Ming could actually still occupy the upper hand in the confrontation with the Blazing Flame, Heavenly Bamboo Heavens Chosen. Was this still a 5th-level Divine Lord cultivation? This was too monstrous. The Blazing Flame Sky Bamboo's outstanding talent retreated 1,000 meters. His hands trembled slightly, and his expression was extremely grave. In that move just now, he was completely at a disadvantage. Amazing! Again. The flaming Heavenly Bamboo prodigy shouted and dashed toward Lu Ming once again. In the process of dashing out, his body changed rapidly and turned into a fiery red bamboo. This was the true body of the flaming Heavenly Bamboo. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the fiery red bamboo leaves were like incomparably sharp swords as they stabbed towards Lu Ming. The space was pierced, and a pitch-black hole appeared. At the same time, the Blazing Flame Sky Bamboo's true body was like a divine sword that was filled with flames as it slashed towards Lu Ming. Open! Lu Ming roared. His finger was like a sword as he swung it out. Suddenly, dense sword chi appeared and blocked all the bamboo leaves. Since Lu Ming was pretending to be a disciple of the Fengdu sword sect, he naturally had to act more realistically. The bamboo leaves were blocked, but the Blazing Flame Sky Bamboo's true body had already arrived. A sword chi appeared on Lu Ming's finger as he swung the sword upwards. Clang! 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 The two of them exchanged more than 10 moves in the blink of an eye. To be honest, the Blazing Flame Sky Bamboo's outstanding talent was very strong. No matter if it was his physique secret technique, divine power, or origin secret technique, they had all reached an extremely profound level. Although he was a 9th-level Divine Lord, it was not too difficult for him to kill an ordinary Boundary Emperor. Lu Ming did not activate the battle character formula, and did not use the taboo energy at full force. Hence, he could not kill his opponent instantly. However, the Blazing Flame Sky Bamboo's outstanding talent was no match for him. After the two of them exchanged more than 10 moves, the Blazing Flame Sky Bamboo's outstanding talent retreated to the edge of the fighting ring. His body trembled as he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale. Impressive. Really impressive. I have never seen a 5th-level Divine Lord with such combat strength in my life. I have lost this battle. I admit defeat wholeheartedly. The Blazing Flame Sky Bamboo's outstanding talent exclaimed. After saying that, he left the fighting ring and admitted defeat. Although he had only exchanged more than 10 moves with Lu Ming, he was very clear that Lu Ming's combat strength was unfathomable. He was no match for Lu Ming at all. He even had a feeling that Lu Ming did not use his full strength at all. If he used his full strength, he might be able to contend with those Boundary Emperors. This was simply unbelievable. How is this possible? How is this possible? Since when did Feng City Sword Sect have such an outstanding talent? Qi Ping kept roaring in his heart. The muscles on his face were distorted. In the past, he had always been the #1 outstanding talent in Feng City Sword Sect. Previously, he looked down on Lu Ming and placed the position of the #1 outstanding talent high. However, compared to Lu Ming, he was nothing. With Lu Ming's combat strength, he could probably defeat him with just a casual move. What kind of bullshit #1 outstanding talent was he? If that was the case, wouldn't his previous actions be especially ridiculous? In the future, he would be a joke in the eyes of the Feng City Sword Sect's disciples. He simply could not accept it. As for Han Feng, the murderous intent in his eyes became even more intense. This guy, Han Feng muttered. He even felt a trace of pressure from Lu Ming. Although he still had the confidence to suppress Lu Ming, if Lu Ming was a little stronger and his cultivation level increased a little, he would not be able to suppress him anymore. I must finish him off as soon as possible, Han Feng thought in his heart. Following the Raging Flame Sky Bamboo's outstanding talent admitting defeat, Lu Ming already had 11 consecutive victories. He was just a step away from qualifying. In many people's eyes, Lu Ming qualifying was something that was set in stone. On the third fighting platform, those who did not fight with Lu Ming were a quasi-royal prodigy and 3 9th-level Divine Lord prodigies. Since Lu Ming could defeat the Raging Flame Sky Bamboo's outstanding talent, then he should have a high chance of winning against the remaining 3 9th-level Divine Lord prodigies. At the very least, it was definitely not a problem to obtain another victory. The competition continued. After one round, it was Lu Ming's turn again. This time, his opponent was a 9th-level Divine Lord prodigy. This prodigy's strength was very strong. However, he was at most at the standard of the Raging Flame Sky Bamboo's outstanding talent. After exchanging a few moves with Lu Ming, he knew that he was not Lu Ming's match and simply admitted defeat. On the third fighting platform, there was that quasi-royal prodigy and also Lu Ming, this dark horse. This way, there were only 2 qualifying spots left. If they wanted to qualify, the difficulty was very high. Hence, they might as well admit defeat and preserve their strength to fight with other opponents with similar strength. Previously, the Raging Flame Sky Bamboo's outstanding talent also had this plan. This way, Lu Ming had already obtained 12 victories. Even if he lost the next 3 consecutive matches, he had already locked in the qualification. Chapter 3765. The competition continued, and there were many exciting fights. There were also exciting fights on the other 17 fighting stages. As for those unfathomable geniuses, they had a much easier time than Lu Ming, and had a complete victory. However, there were also a few fighting stages that had intense fights. There were more than one quasi-royal genius on some of the fighting stages. These quasi-royal geniuses met each other in advance, and there were exciting fights. Finally, there were differences in strength even among those of the same cultivation level. There was a young man in a green robe on one of the fighting stages that caught everyone's attention. The young man's combat strength was extremely strong. He won against a quasi-royal genius of the same cultivation level as him. His opponent was also a powerful genius. However, he was unable to fight back against the young man in the green robe. The difference in strength was obvious. Someone recognized that the young man in the green robe was from the Storm Tribe, which was ranked 333 on the primitive 10,000 tribes board. He was another genius who could fight for the championship. Everyone thought that he could fight against the Ziying tribe's genius that the Great Sect had invited. Although the Ziying tribe was ranked 99 in the top 100 tribes, their overall talent was strong. However, that didn't mean that there weren't any geniuses who could fight against the Ziying tribe. Races that were ranked at the top only meant that their overall strength and overall talent were stronger. However, weaker races would also give birth to some terrifying geniuses who could trample those stronger races' geniuses underfoot. In history, there were many terrifying geniuses from small tribes that weren't even on the primitive 10,000 tribes board. Their names shook the universe, and they could even defeat the geniuses from the top 10 tribes. There were many such geniuses in every era. Everyone thought that the genius from the Storm Tribe could kill an ordinary divine emperor. He is indeed unfathomable, Lu Ming muttered. Even he felt pressured when facing such a person. Now that he had unleashed his full strength and used the battle formula to increase his combat strength by 5 times and the gravity orb, he could only fight a first-layer divine emperor to a draw. During this period of time, he had cultivated some secret skills. However, his strength had only increased by a little. It would be difficult to defeat him, let alone kill him. unless Qiuqiu was included. However, he couldn't borrow Qiuqiu's power in a competition like this. After all, Qiuqiu was a different kind of creature. If he borrowed Qiuqiu's power, it would be 2 against 1. Naturally, he wouldn't allow it. However, this made Lu Ming's fighting spirit even stronger. Perhaps he might be able to tap into the other party's strength to stimulate his potential and achieve a breakthrough in his cultivation. The competition was carried out one by one. Soon it was Lu Ming's turn again. Muyun, against Wall Pass. Lu Fei's voice rang out. His words caused the hearts of those who were paying attention to the third platform to tremble. Then they revealed looks of anticipation. There was no other reason. Guan Lianbi was the only quasi-emperor on the third towering platform. He was extremely powerful and had swept his way through, just like Lu Ming undefeated. Previously, everyone thought that on the third platform, Lu Ming was only second to Guan Lianbi. They had long been looking forward to the battle between the two of them. Muyun is finally facing Guan Lianbi. Who do you think will win? It should be Guan Lianbi. Muyun is only a 5th-level divine lord after all, while Guan Lianbi is a quasi-emperor. The difference is too great. However, these people's tone was also filled with uncertainty. They didn't say that Lu Ming would definitely lose, because Lu Ming had created too many records before. In the beginning, he defeated a 6th-level divine lord prodigy. Then he defeated a 7th-level divine lord, an 8th-level divine lord, and even a 9th-level divine lord prodigy was defeated by Lu Ming. They already couldn't figure out Lu Ming. They felt that Lu Ming was shrouded in a layer of fog. Swoosh, swoosh. Lu Ming and Guan Lianbi appeared on the platform at the same time. Guan Lianbi was very tall and sturdy. He wore a set of heavy armor and stood there like an impenetrable wall. In reality, he was a prodigy from the Iron Wall race. A 5th-level divine lord with your combat strength. I've only seen it in the top 10 races. But I know that you haven't used your full strength yet. Come, fight with me and help me comprehend the Tao of the Divine Emperor. Guan Lianbi opened his mouth, his voice deep like thunder. He actually wanted to borrow Lu Ming's strength to help him comprehend the Tao of the Divine Emperor. It happened to coincide with Lu Ming's goal. I believe I won't disappoint you, Lu Ming said. Looks like none of you want to admit defeat. Then let's begin, Lu Feichuan announced. Bang, bang. Guan Lianbi stepped forward. The speed of his steps wasn't fast, but they were as heavy as a mountain. With each step, the platform would emit a violent rumble. With each step he took, his body would swell up a little. After a few steps, his body became a lot bigger, and his aura also became a lot stronger. He was accumulating power. When he accumulated power to the peak, it would also be the peak of his combat strength. If it were other people, they would definitely make a move and interrupt Guan Lianbi's accumulation. But Lu Ming didn't. He stood there quietly, waiting for Guan Lianbi's accumulation to reach the peak. But the people by the side started to discuss. What's going on? Muyun actually didn't make a move and interrupt Guan Lianbi's accumulation. Looks like Lu Ming is waiting for Guan Lianbi's accumulation to reach the peak. What strong confidence. The crowd wasn't a fool and easily saw through Lu Ming's goal. Lu Ming was actually taking the initiative to wait for Guan Lianbi's accumulation. Unless he was a fool, it meant that he had strong confidence in himself. Among them, the most nervous were Han Feng and Qi Ping. The two of them clenched their fists tightly together. Their eyes were wide open as they stared at Lu Ming, hoping that Lu Ming would be defeated. Finally, when Guan Lianbi took 9 steps and accumulated power to the peak, Lu Ming made a move. Lu Ming took a light step forward. His body was like a phantom as he dashed toward the Guan Lianbi and threw a punch. Come on! Guan Lianbi shouted and punched out as well. Boom! Their fists collided, causing the space to explode. A pitch-black space appeared. The sky shook violently like a drum. Then the two figures retreated more than 10 steps before they could stabilize their footing. The two of them retreated at the same time. Is this the strength of a quasi-emperor level genius? It's really strong, definitely not comparable to an ordinary quasi-emperor level genius. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This quasi-emperor level genius from the list of 10,000 races of the ancient desolate era had extremely strong combat strength. It was far from what an ordinary quasi-emperor level genius could compare to. Lu Ming could kill an ordinary quasi-emperor level genius with a casual move. But just now he was evenly matched with Guan Lianbi. Of course, this was because Lu Ming didn't use his full strength. He didn't use the battle character art or the gravity pearl. Even so, it still shocked the crowd. Chapter 3766. Everyone's heart thumped a few times. Lu Ming actually blocked Guan Lianbi's attack. Moreover, it was when Guan Lianbi had accumulated his strength to the peak. This was too unbelievable. One must know that Lu Ming was only a 5th-level Divine Lord. Damn it. How is this possible? Han Feng, Qi Ping, and the rest widened their eyes at the same time. Especially Qi Ping, his face was pale. Lu Ming was too terrifying. The key was that Lu Ming was a disciple of the Fengdu sword sect. He had treated Lu Ming like that previously. How would Lu Ming treat him in the future? When he thought of Lu Ming taking revenge on him in the future, he broke out in cold sweat. I hope he will be beaten to death in this competition. Qi Ping prayed in his heart. Huff. Guan Lianbi let out a breath. The light in his eyes shot out 3 zhang. To be honest, he was also shocked. At the same time, he was excited. Powerful, really powerful. Come again. Guan Lianbi hollered. He stomped his feet and dashed toward Lu Ming. His fist was emitting a dazzling radiance. It had doubled in size. The huge iron fist was attacking Lu Ming like a storm. Better use the sword. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Since he was pretending to be a disciple of the Fengdu sword sect, he had to act more realistically. He clenched his fists in the air, and used the sword-type secret technique in his cells. A sword light appeared and was held in Lu Ming's hands. Swoosh. Lu Ming brandished the sword light and slashed at Guan Lianbi. Clang. 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 The two of them clashed continuously. Energy overflowed. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than 10 moves. The two of them retreated and charged towards each other again. After more than 10 moves, there was still no clear victor. Divine Iron Battle Armor. Guan Lianbi roared. A battle armor appeared on his body. The battle armor emitted a dazzling radiance, making Guan Lianbi's aura even stronger. He pushed his combat strength to the limit. Origin Source Secret Technique. I have severed 3 shackles. Lu Ming thought to himself. Evidently, Guan Lianbi's secret origin technique had severed 3 shackles. Otherwise it wouldn't be so powerful. Battle Formula. Activate. Lu Ming finally triggered the battle formula. However, it didn't trigger 5 times combat strength, but 2 times. This was just a competition, not a life and death battle. There was no need for him to use his full strength to defeat Guan Lianbi. It was better to keep some trump cards hidden. But even with 2 times his combat strength, Lu Ming's aura had still soared. His strength had greatly increased, causing everyone's hearts to fiercely tremble. Whoosh. The sword light in Lu Ming's hand soared and slashed at Guan Lianbi's fist. This time, Guan Lianbi's body shook violently as he retreated continuously. However, Lu Ming did not retreat this time. Lu Ming had the upper hand. Swish. 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 After Lu Ming gained the upper hand, his attacks were like a storm. The sword light overlapped and slashed at Guan Lianbi one after another. Guan Lianbi roared and used all his strength to resist. However, he couldn't stop Lu Ming at all. Every time they clashed, he had to retreat. Clang. Some of the sword light slashed at Guan Lianbi's body, but it actually produced clanging sounds and sparks. It couldn't break through Guan Lianbi's defense at all. His defense is really thick. Lu Ming muttered. Guan Lianbi was from the Iron Wall race. He was best at defense, and his defense was extremely strong. In other aspects, he wasn't strong enough. However, Lu Ming didn't need to break through his defense at all. Lu Ming only needed to force Guan Lianbi off the stage, and that was enough. Lu Ming concentrated his strength. He didn't want to break through Guan Lianbi's defense, but only used his strength to directly attack. Guan Lianbi was completely suppressed by Lu Ming. He wanted to rush out, but his speed wasn't enough. This made him extremely sullen. Soon, Guan Lianbi was about to retreat to the edge of the stage. Stop, I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to fight anymore. I admit defeat. Guan Lianbi shouted and directly admitted defeat. If they continued to fight, he would be blasted off the stage by Lu Ming. As soon as Guan Lianbi admitted defeat, Lu Ming flew back and restrained his aura. The sword light in his hand also dissipated. Mu Yun, I admit that your combat strength is really strong and unbelievable. However, if the two of us fight to the death, I may not lose to you, Guan Lianbi said. He took the initiative to admit defeat, but he was still somewhat unwilling. His defense was strong enough. If it was a life and death battle, he could rely on his powerful defense to resist Lu Ming's attack. When Lu Ming's divine power was exhausted and his attacks weakened, he could counterattack and perhaps defeat Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled slightly and didn't refute. With the strength he had just used, it was true that he couldn't break through Guan Lianbi's defense. It was indeed as Guan Lianbi thought. However, he didn't use his full strength at all. He only activated the battle formula to double his combat strength. If he activated the battle formula to increase his combat strength by 5 times, he could instantly tear through Guan Lianbi's defense. Mu Yun wins this battle, Lu Feichuan announced. The scene was in an uproar. This result was really out of everyone's expectations. Obviously, after Lu Ming defeated Guan Lianbi on the 3rd stage, he was invincible. It was very likely that he would advance as the first in the group. No one had expected this beforehand. Qi Ping's face was pale. Han Feng's face was extremely gloomy. Of course, the experts of the Black Blood Hall were also gloomy. Sect leader Wan, on the other hand, burst into laughter. He felt that his decision to invite Lu Ming was too wise. After this battle, Lu Ming won 13 consecutive battles. The competition continued. Next, the scene gradually became clear. It was also clear whether the participants on each stage could advance or not. In the next 2 battles, Lu Ming's opponents directly surrendered. They clearly saw the strength that Lu Ming had displayed in the battle with Guan Lianbi. They also knew that they weren't Lu Ming's match. If they didn't surrender, would they be looking for trouble? Just like that, Lu Ming won 15 consecutive battles and became the first in the 3rd stage. After a while, the battles on the other stages also ended. The number of participants from each force was also tabulated. Some people were happy, while others were sad. There were 18 forces and 72 participants. On average, each force would be allocated 4 participants. However, in reality, it was naturally impossible for each force to have 4 participants. There were strong and weak forces. For example, there were 7 Sky Prides from the Great Sect who had qualified. And the weakest force only had 1 pitiful genius. Unless the only prodigy in this faction had heaven-defying strength and could achieve consecutive victories, this faction would most likely be at the bottom. The leader of this force had an extremely ugly expression. If their results were at the bottom, they would definitely be the weakest when the resources were allocated. For a long time in the future, they would not have good resources, and their strength would get worse. This would form a vicious cycle. This time, the Fengdu Sword Sect had 3 people who had advanced. Their results were not satisfactory, and could only be considered as barely passable. These 3 people were Lu Ming, Han Feng, and a supreme talent from the purple-eyed golden geese called Yanzi. Chapter 3767. 3 people from the Feng City Sword Sect obtained 300 points. In addition to the 500 points they obtained in the first round, they had a total of 800 points. This result could only be considered average among the 18 forces. The strongest force, the Great Sky Sect, had a total of 900 points and was firmly in first place. In second place was the Lingfeng family with a total of 1,700 points. The Sky Pride from the Stormwind tribe was the external help that the Lingfeng family had invited. The third place had a total of 1,600 points, which was double the points of the Feng City Sword Sect. However, it was still early and nothing was known yet, because the next round would be the battles between the 72 Sky Prides. As long as one was in the top 36, they would obtain 200 points. The next round would be a huge change in the points. At this moment, Qi Ping, Han Feng, and the rest gathered together and glanced coldly at Lu Ming from time to time. Brother Han, Mu Yin is too monstrous. If you meet him in the next round, do you have the confidence to deal with him? Qi Ping asked softly. Han Feng's face darkened. He pondered for a while and said, looking at the strength he displayed in the battle with Guan Lianbi, I will definitely kill him if he meets me. Han Feng said in a low voice, and a cold killing intent flashed in his eyes. Although Lu Ming was strong, he had a special method and was confident that he could kill Lu Ming. That's good. It would be great if that kid meets Brother Han in the next round. Qi Ping said as he prayed in his heart. He was really afraid. With Lu Ming's strength, he would definitely not let him go if he was alive. Qi Ping's life in the Feng City Sword Sect would definitely be tough. In the past, he was awe-inspiring and could do whatever he wanted. He would never return to those days. He couldn't accept it. Condense. At this moment, the judges from the 18 forces shouted at the same time. They formed seals with their hands and runes filled the air. Then the 18 stages started to gather together and formed an even bigger stage. Alright, the 72 people will continue with the competition. The rules are simple. The 72 of you will draw lots. Whoever you draw will fight in pairs. The sect leader of the Great Sky Sect announced. This was a classic two-man arena battle. Of course, it also required a bit of luck. If one's luck was bad and they were matched against an expert they couldn't defeat, then they could only blame it on their bad luck. Next, the Great Sky Grand Hierarch divided the 72 people into two groups. Each group had 36 people. Then the Great Sky Grand Hierarch carved the names of the 36 people on bamboo sticks. Then he placed the bamboo sticks into a metal box. The surface of the metal box was engraved with runes that could isolate spiritual sense, preventing people from peeking at the names inside with their spiritual sense and preventing cheating. I've engraved the names of the people on your side. Those who haven't engraved their names, come and draw lots. The Great Sky Sect leader waved his hand, and the metal box flew out and floated in the air. He then instructed a group of people to go up and draw lots. Whoever's name was drawn would be the one to fight. I'll go first. A purple-robed young man stepped out. Those whose names were engraved immediately became nervous. This was because this person was the peerless Sky Pride that the Great Sect had invited from the Ziying tribe. His strength was unfathomable, and he was a strong contender for first place. No one wanted to be drawn by him. Even if there were other Sky Prides who were as strong as him, now was not the time for the final battle. If they were defeated, they would not be able to earn many points. Under the nervous gazes of the crowd, the Sky Pride of the Ziying tribe took out a bamboo stick from the metal box. Ensu. The young man from the Ziying tribe said slowly. The face of the young man called Ensu instantly turned pale. How unlucky. Ensu sighed inwardly. Come, let's fight. The Sky Pride of the Ziying tribe stepped onto the fighting ring with a heroic spirit. I admit defeat. Ensu admitted defeat directly. There was no need for him to fight. He was only a 9th-level Divine Lord. The difference between him and the Sky Pride of the Ziying tribe was too great. Even if he gave it his all, he would not stand a chance. Moreover, there were no rules that forbade him from killing his opponent. If the Sky Pride of the Ziying tribe wanted to kill him, he would be wronged. Hence, he admitted defeat. In this way, the Sky Pride of the Ziying tribe easily won the battle and entered the 36th place. This gave the Great Sky Sect another 200 points. The Great Sky Sect's points exceeded 2,000 points. I'll do it. At this moment, another young man stepped forward. The crowd was shocked. This person was the Sky Pride of the Stormwind tribe. He was also someone who had the ability to fight for first place. He had also drawn a 9th-level Divine Lord. That person also admitted defeat. Next, the Sky Prides went up one by one to draw lots. Under normal circumstances, as long as the difference between the two parties was not too great, they would choose to fight. This was because this was the elimination round and not the group stage. If they lost, they still had a chance. Once they lost in the elimination round, they would not have a chance. Intense battles took place one after another. Of course, many people would admit defeat decisively once they were no match for their opponents. After all, they were only hired external help. They just had to try their best. There was no need to risk their lives. Soon, half of the 36 battles were over. Mu Yun. At this moment, a young man drew a bamboo stick and called out Mu Yun's name. The young man did not look too good. He knew about Lu Ming's combat strength. However, he was only a 9th-level Divine Lord. If he encountered Lu Ming, he would be in danger. Swoosh. Lu Ming was very decisive. He took a step out and landed on the battle stage. That young man gritted his teeth and also landed on the battle stage. Brother Mu, your strength really makes me admire. I want to exchange a few moves with Brother Mu. How about we stop when it's appropriate? The young man said. Many people smiled knowingly. Very clearly, this person was wary of Lu Ming's strength, but did not wish to give up like this. He wanted to give it a try. Hence, he said this to leave a way out for himself. Of course, Lu Ming said with a smile. He had no enmity with the other party. As long as he won, it was enough. There was no need to shout and kill. Whoosh! That young man moved, charging toward Lu Ming like a streak of divine light. His speed was very fast. Clearly, this person was adept at speed. His offensive power was also very strong. His attacks were like a storm, endless, making it impossible to guard against. This was also the reason why he wanted to give it a try. Even those stronger than him in a head-on clash would be defeated by him if careless. However, he was destined to miscalculate when facing Lu Ming. Swoosh! Swoosh! Sword light appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He instantly slashed out 1,000 swords, filling the sky with sword light. The sword light that filled the sky enveloped the other party. The other party's attack was instantly broken. His figure retreated explosively, retreating all the way to the edge of the battle stage before stopping. There were already 2 additional sword wounds on his body, fresh blood flowing. It really won't work. The young man secretly shook his head. Then he cupped his fists and said, Brother Mu is indeed formidable. I admire you. Done talking, he turned around and left the battle stage, taking the initiative to admit defeat. Chapter 3768. In this way, Lu Ming also won and entered the 36th place. He had obtained 200 points for the Fengdu sword sect. The competition continued. Han Feng and Yanzi also took turns to fight. Han Feng's strength was very strong. He defeated his opponent without much effort. However, Yanzi was not that strong. He encountered a quasi-emperor level genius and was defeated by him. Not long after, the 36 matches came to an end. 2 people from the Fengdu sword sect entered the 36th place and had accumulated 1,200 points. 5 people from the Great Heaven sect entered the 36th place, and they were still in the lead with 2,900 points. The most miserable one was the one who had only 1 person qualified. In this round, only 1 person had been eliminated. In this way, this sect was destined to be at the bottom. At the end of this round, the Fengdu sword sect was ranked 10th among the 18 sections. The Black Blood Hall was slightly better at 9th place. Next, the 36 people who won would compete to determine the 18th place. Those who entered the 18th place would each obtain 300 points. The rules were the same as before. The Great Heaven sect leader divided the 36 people into 2 groups. One group would carve their names on bamboo sticks and put them into the metal box. The other group would draw lots. Whoever was drawn would fight with that group. This time, Lu Ming was still the one who drew lots. The prodigy of the Ziying race and the prodigy of the Stormwind race, the 2 seeded contestants, had also drawn lots. Alright, let's start drawing lots. The Great Heaven sect leader announced. The 18 people who drew lots looked at each other. For a moment, no one stepped forward. The 2 powerful demons from the Ziying tribe and Stormwind tribe were in the same group. If they were drawn, they would vomit blood. Let me do it. At this moment, a figure walked up. Han Feng. The first person to draw lots was Han Feng. He walked to the front of the metal box and reached in to pull out a bamboo stick. He looked at the name on the bamboo stick and was slightly stunned. Then he revealed a playful smile, as well as a wisp of ice-cold killing intent. Who did he draw? Many people were curious. Han Feng looked toward Lu Ming and revealed the name on the bamboo stick in his hand. Mu Yun. Han Feng slowly spat out a name. It's Cloud Herder. In the plentiful city sword sects area, Qi Ping's eyes suddenly lit up. Qi Ping was very clear that Han Feng wanted to kill Lu Ming. As long as Lu Ming dared to fight Han Feng, then Han Feng would be able to kill Lu Ming. As for the fact that both of them were from the plentiful city sword sect, if the 2 of them met, it would be disadvantageous for the sect. He did not care. What did it have to do with him? As long as Lu Ming was dead, everything would be fine. After Lu Ming was dead, the the Fengdu sword sect would still be his world. He would still be the #1 person in the sect, and he could get whatever he wanted. Damn it, how did this happen? Sect leader Wang's face was extremely dark. The other elders of the Fengdu sword sect were the same. From their point of view, they didn't want Lu Ming and Han Feng to meet. When the two of them met, one of them would be eliminated without even fighting. This was extremely disadvantageous to the Fengdu sword sect. Of course, the benefits were not useless. One of them was destined to enter the top 18 and obtain 300 points. However, sect leader Wang and the other's ambition was not limited to that. He still wanted Lu Ming and Han Feng to enter the top 18. My luck is not bad. Lu Ming revealed a smile. Han Feng had been targeting him, showing his killing intent to him without restraint. Lu Ming also wanted to eliminate Han Feng. However, he did not have the chance. Now the chance was here. If he eliminated Han Feng in a fair and square battle, the Sacred Heart tribe behind him would be embarrassed to say anything. The premise was that Han Feng would not admit defeat before the battle even started. I didn't expect you to pick me. Lu Ming spoke, and his gaze fell on Han Feng. My luck has always been good, Han Feng said with a cold gaze. Around them, people from other forces, especially those from the Black Blood Hall, looked at Lu Ming and Han Feng as if they were watching a good show. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Lu Ming and Han Feng had a conflict. It was interesting that people from the same force had a conflict in such a competition and met each other. Sect leader Wang also had a headache. He was really afraid that Lu Ming and Han Feng would both be injured, which would affect the rest of the competition. However, he could not suppress the two of them. One was a peerless genius with an unknown background, while the other was a top genius from the primitive 10,000 tribes board. Neither of them cared about him. Sect leader Wang felt that it was too difficult for him. Is that so? Come on then. Lu Ming stepped forward and came to the fighting ring. Han Feng also moved and appeared on the fighting ring, facing Lu Ming from afar. It's not too late to admit defeat. Later, when we fight, death and injury are inevitable. Han Feng hurriedly said, trying to provoke Lu Ming so that Lu Ming would not admit defeat easily. Brother, why did you steal my line? Lu Ming really wanted to say that to Han Feng. That was because he wanted to provoke Han Feng with these words, so that Han Feng would not admit defeat easily. He did not expect Han Feng to speak first. However, this was also good. Lu Ming could retaliate. I admit defeat? That's not going to happen. I'm more afraid that you will admit defeat before we even fight. Lu Ming said calmly. Ha, me admit defeat? You are really naive. If I admit defeat, Han Feng laughed. If I admit defeat, I will destroy my own cultivation. After being provoked by Lu Ming, Han Feng could not help but blurt it out. Alright, it's a deal. Lu Ming quickly agreed. Han Feng was stunned and he could not help but feel regretful. Especially when he saw Lu Ming's expression, he could not help but feel uneasy. Could it be that Lu Ming could really defeat him? No way. How can this brat defeat me? Han Feng shook his head and threw the unrealistic thoughts out of his mind. Let's begin. The sect leader of the Great Grand Sect announced the start of the competition. Boom. As soon as the Grand Sky Sect leader finished his words, a dazzling radiance erupted from Han Feng's body, and a dazzling sword light appeared. That was his origin source secret skill. Heart-slaying sword. Han Feng shouted, and a sword light pierced towards Lu Ming at an alarming speed. Lu Ming was not afraid at all. He used his fingers as a sword, and a sword light burst out from his fingers as he slashed towards Han Feng. How dare you take my heart-slaying sword head-on? You are courting death. Great. When Han Feng saw Lu Ming's sword slashing towards him, he was not surprised. Instead, he was elated. His heart-slaying sword was not an ordinary sword attack. It could directly strike the enemy's heart and destroy it. Boom. When Lu Ming and Han Feng's attack collided, sword chi spread in all directions. All of a sudden, Lu Ming sensed a strange energy from Han Feng's sword gleam. It dashed into his body and headed straight for his heart. Poof. Lu Ming's heart was pierced by the sword light and a hole was formed. When one's cultivation reached the Divine King or Divine Lord realm, even if their physical body was shattered, as long as their soul was not destroyed, they could still recover. However, it did not mean that there was no impact at all. For example, the heart. Chapter 3769. The heart was the center of one's qi and blood, and the internal organs were all vital points. Even a divine lord or divine emperor would be greatly affected in a short period of time. Their combat strength would be weakened, their qi and blood would be insufficient, and it would be difficult for them to use their divine power. Therefore, many experts would be weakened once they were injured. Han Feng's heart-slaying sword specialized in attacking the heart. The heart-slaying sword qi exploded and went straight for the heart. Once it hit the opponent's heart, the opponent's strength would be greatly weakened in an instant. Unfortunately, he met Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not have any vital points at the moment. Every cell in his body was the center, the core. Therefore, Lu Ming was not affected at all when his heart was pierced by the heart-slaying sword qi. However, Han Feng did not know this at all. He thought that Lu Ming was greatly affected, and his face revealed a ferocious expression. Go to hell! Han Feng roared, and the sword light became stronger. He became one with the sword and slashed at Lu Ming. He wanted to take the opportunity to cut Lu Ming in half. However, at this moment, Lu Ming revealed a strange sneer. He threw a punch at Han Feng's sword gleam. The moment he punched, Lu Ming's aura skyrocketed. In an instant, Lu Ming activated the Battle Character Sutra to triple his combat strength. 3 times the combat power was more than enough. Boom! Lu Ming's fist collided with Han Feng's sword light. At the moment of impact, Han Feng's expression changed. The ferocious expression at the beginning turned to shock, and then to disbelief and fear. Then Han Feng's sword light collapsed. Under the force of Lu Ming's fist, it was extinguished like a candle flame. Then Lu Ming's fist landed on Han Feng's nose. Crack! Han Feng's nose was broken, and his whole face caved in. Of course, his head did not explode because Lu Ming showed mercy. Ah! Han Feng let out a shrill scream and retreated rapidly. However, Lu Ming grabbed one of Han Feng's arms and swung him up. Han Feng was thrown to the ground heavily. He was like a toad that had been smashed to the ground, making strange sounds. Cracking sounds came from his body. That was the sound of bones breaking. Han Feng's attack power was similar to Guan Lianbi's. His ultimate move was the heart-slaying sword. With the punishing heart sword, even those who were stronger than him would often be defeated by him. Although Guan Lianbi's defense was amazing, if he fought Han Feng, Guan Lianbi, and it would be a crushing defeat. This was why Han Feng was so confident that he could defeat Lu Ming. Indeed, if Lu Ming was an ordinary prodigy, his combat ability would be greatly reduced after his heart was pierced. He might really be killed by Han Feng. However, there was no if. At this moment, Han Feng finally came to his senses and wanted to admit defeat. But before the words left his mouth, he stopped. He remembered what he said before. Once he admitted defeat, he would cripple his own cultivation. If a cultivator crippled his own cultivation, what would he be left with? He would be worse than trash. This was something he could not accept. Damn it, I've been tricked. Han Feng roared in his heart. He knew that he had been tricked by Lu Ming. Lu Ming seemed to know that he would defeat him, so he provoked Han Feng not to admit defeat. Previously, he wanted to provoke Lu Ming not to admit defeat. Now that he thought about it, how ridiculous was that? The surrounding audience was also stunned. They were a little confused. Wasn't Han Feng defeated a little too quickly? You're a big shot after all. How could you be defeated so easily? They felt like they were in a dream. Even sect leader Wang, Han Xiling, and the others who were very confident in Lu Ming felt that it was a little unreal. Yes, they knew that Lu Ming was strong and could easily defeat and kill quasi-emperors. However, Han Feng could do the same. Therefore, they always thought that no matter how strong Lu Ming was, he would only be at Han Feng's level. They never expected that Han Feng would be so weak in front of Lu Ming. Han Feng is being countered. Han Feng's heart-punishing sword specializes in attacking the heart. His heart-punishing sword qi clearly hit Mu Yun, but Mu Yun is completely fine. Clearly, Mu Yun has some kind of treasure that can protect his heart. Or perhaps his heart is special, so he is unaffected. That's right. It's not that Han Feng is weak, but that Mu Yun restrained him. The big shots of several forces saw something fishy and pointed it out. Everyone was enlightened. So that's why. Bang. At this moment, Lu Ming had no intention of stopping. He stepped out and stepped on Han Feng's face. Han Feng screamed as one side of his face caved in. The current Han Feng was too horrible to look at. His face was beyond recognition. Even if his mother was here, she would not be able to recognize him. Lu Ming did not kill Han Feng. He was still a little worried. Of course, he was not worried about his own safety. If he was alone, he would have killed Han Feng in one move. At most, he would just leave. However, he was pretending to be a disciple of the Feng City Sword Sect. He needed the help of the Feng City Sword Sect to participate in the selection of the heavenly soldiers in the Heavenly Palace. As for Han Feng, sect leader Wang had paid a huge price to invite him from the Sacred Heart Tribe. If he was killed by a disciple of the Feng City Sword Sect, the Sacred Heart Tribe would definitely find trouble with the Feng City Sword Sect. With the strength of the Sacred Heart Tribe, it would not be too difficult to destroy the Feng City Sword Sect. At that time, sect leader Wang would definitely not protect him, and would hand him over. This was not what Lu Ming wanted to see. Therefore, Lu Ming did not intend to kill Han Feng. He just wanted to torture him. After being tortured by someone of the same generation, the Sacred Heart Tribe would not stand up for him no matter how shameless they were. That would be too shameful. Muyin, stop. Han Feng has been defeated. Another young man from the Sacred Heart Tribe shouted. Defeated? Why didn't I know he was defeated? Did he rush down the fighting stage? Or did he admit defeat? Lu Ming's indifferent voice resounded. You. The young man from the Sacred Heart Tribe was furious and said, Han Feng is already injured and unable to fight. If he is not defeated, then what is? That's hard to say. This might be Han Feng's tactic. He purposely pretended to be weak, and then looked for an opportunity to counterattack. Otherwise, why didn't he admit defeat? Lu Ming clenched the word, admit defeat. Han Feng wanted to roar at the sky. Admit defeat, admit defeat, admit defeat my ass. If I did not say that I would cripple my own cultivation, I would have admitted defeat long ago, okay? The young man from the Sacred Heart Tribe almost bit his own tongue. He was so angry that his whole body was trembling. Admit defeat? How could he admit defeat? Bang. Lu Ming continued to attack and kicked Han Feng's face again. This time, Han Feng didn't even have the strength to scream. This is a personal grudge between me and Han Feng. It is a competition between the younger generation. Lu Ming added loudly. He was afraid that the Sacred Heart Tribe would settle the score with the Feng City Sword Sect. If he said it out loud, everyone would know. The Sacred Heart Tribe would not be able to find trouble with the Feng City Sword Sect. Chapter 3770. At that moment, Han Feng had already cursed in his heart. He swore to himself that he would make sure that Lu Ming died without a burial ground. In the end, he was brutally beaten up by Lu Ming again. When Han Feng was on the verge of death, Lu Ming kicked him out of the fighting ring. Another youth from the Sacred Heart Tribe quickly caught Han Feng and treated his injuries. Mu Yin is so vengeful. Many Sky Prides thought to themselves. It was better not to provoke Mu Yin. Of course, there were a few Sky Prides who had strong battle intent in their eyes, such as the Sky Prides from the Ziying Tribe and the Stormwind Tribe. Lu Ming was only a 5th-level Divine Lord, but he had such strong battle strength. They wanted to spar with Lu Ming. Mu Yin wins this battle, the Great Sky Sect leader announced. Just like that, Lu Ming was the first to enter the top 18, and obtained 300 points for the Fengdu Sword Sect. Now, the Fengdu Sword Sect had a total of 1,500 points. Lu Ming stepped down, and another youth went up to draw lots. This youth was unlucky to have drawn the Sky Pride from the Ziying Tribe. His face turned ugly. This youth was a 9th-level Divine Lord. Knowing that he was no match for the Sky Pride from the Ziying Tribe, he admitted defeat. Next, the battles continued one after another. The Sky Pride from the Stormwind Tribe won easily. Wei Jin, the Sky Pride from the Black Blood Hall, also won. Now Wei Jin was the only one left from the Black Blood Hall. He still had slightly more points than the Fengdu Sword Sect. After a little more than a day, the top 18 were out. Most of the top 18 were Boundary Emperor Sky Prides. Only 2 Sky Prides who were lucky enough not to encounter a Boundary Emperor were able to enter the top 18 with their 9th-level Divine Lord cultivation. Of course, There were also some unlucky boundary Emperor Skyprides who met stronger opponents and were defeated, such as Han Feng. Without a doubt, the Great Sky Sect was still in first place. The Great Sky Sect had a total of 3 Skyprides who entered the top 18. This also meant that many of the powers had been shaved bald and were unable to progress any further. The Fengdu Sword Sect leader smiled. Now out of the 18 forces, only 12 were left. The Fengdu Sword Sect's points were very close to entering the top 10. As long as Lu Ming could win another match, the Fengdu Sword School would be able to enter the top 10. Now that the top 18 had been determined, it was time for 9 of the 18 to advance. The rules were the same as before. The 18 people were divided into 2 groups of 9 people each. 9 of them carved their names, while the other 9 went to draw lots. This time, Lu Ming was assigned to draw lots. Among them, the Ziying clan's prodigy was also the one who had drawn lots, while the Stormwind clan's prodigy was the one who had drawn lots. Alright, who's going to draw lots? After the Grand Master of the Great Heaven Sect was done with his preparations, he turned to Lu Ming and the rest. Let me do it. The genius of the Ziying race was very confident and fearless as he stepped forward. Many people were secretly praying that the prodigy from the Ziying race would be matched against the prodigy from the Stormwind race. That way, the 2 of them could have a peak battle in advance. It would be best if both of them were injured, which would be beneficial to the others. Unfortunately, things did not go as they wished. The prodigy from the Ziying race did not draw the prodigy from the Stormwind race. Instead, he drew another quasi-royal prodigy. The prodigy who had been drawn immediately turned pale. He was also a powerful prodigy from the golden-backed grasshopper race, which was on the primitive 10,000 tribes board. He was very powerful. If he had not encountered the prodigy from the Ziying race, he might have entered the top 9. Are you going to admit defeat? The prodigy from the Ziying race looked at the prodigy from the golden-backed grasshopper race with his purple eyes. He was full of confidence. Xiangzhou, you may be powerful, but I'm not so scared that I don't even dare to fight you. Let's fight. The prodigy from the golden-backed grasshopper race roared and charged into the fighting ring. The prodigy from the Xiangzhou from the Ziying race stepped into the fighting ring. Many people, including Lu Ming, stared at Zhang Tian with bright eyes. The prodigy from the Xiangzhou had always been unfathomable. It was said that he was a seeded contestant and a key candidate for the top spot. He had obtained a golden crystal core in the first round. Even the prodigy from the Stormwind race did not obtain a golden crystal core in the first round. However, no one had seen the full power of the Xiangzhou because he had not encountered a powerful opponent before. In fact, he had not even encountered a quasi-emperor level prodigy. The prodigy from the golden-backed grasshopper race was very powerful. Even among the quasi-emperor level prodigies, he was very powerful. He was even stronger than Han Feng and Guan Lianbi. Perhaps the prodigy from the golden-backed grasshopper race could force the Xiangzhou to use part of his strength. Let's begin. The Grand Sky Patriarch announced. This week, the prodigy from the golden-backed grasshopper race emitted a strange sound wave from his mouth. The sound wave swept towards the Xiangzhou like a wave. It was a terrifying sound wave attack with unparalleled power. However, the Xiangzhou remained expressionless. He slashed out with his hand like a knife. A purple light burst out and split the sound wave attack apart. At that moment, the prodigy from the golden-backed grasshopper race had already transformed into a giant golden grasshopper. He flapped his wings and charged towards the Xiangzhou. As the name suggested, the back of the golden-backed grasshopper was golden. At that moment, his golden back was emitting a dazzling golden light. The golden light turned into different kinds of weapons and charged towards the Xiangzhou. The claws of his true form were like scythes as they slashed towards the Xiangzhou. The moment he attacked, the prodigy from the golden-backed grasshopper race used all his strength. He used all his strongest attacks at once and unleashed a torrential barrage of attacks. In the face of such attacks, the Xiangzhou's expression remained calm. He was not moved at all. The surface of his body was bathed in a layer of purple light. It was as if he was wearing a purple divine robe. Whoosh! The Xiangzhou moved and charged towards the prodigy from the golden-backed grasshopper race. He pressed his palm against the void. Immediately, a dazzling purple light burst out from his palm. Then a purple sun appeared. It was extremely dazzling. The purple sun rapidly grew in size. It was extremely majestic as it pressed forward. Bang! Bang! The attacks from the golden-backed grasshopper race crumbled under the pressure of the purple sun. They were like rotten wood that could not withstand a single blow. Boom! In the end, the purple sun landed on the prodigy from the golden-backed grasshopper race. The prodigy from the golden-backed grasshopper race let out a miserable shriek as his body was sent flying. He flew out of the huge battle stage at an astonishing speed. Immediately, a figure flew out and caught the prodigy from the golden-backed grasshopper race. It was a divine emperor from the faction that had invited the prodigy from the golden-backed grasshopper race. The prodigy from the golden-backed grasshopper race did not die. However, he was in a miserable state. His body was almost burnt and emitted a fragrant smell. His pair of transparent wings had disappeared without a trace. He was defeated in one move. Many people were shocked by his strength. Chapter 3771. The combat strength of the golden-backed grasshopper race's prodigy was definitely not weak. From the full-powered attack just now, it could be seen that it was very strong. Many of the top 18 people present did not have the confidence to take it head-on. Such an expert was instantly killed when facing Purple Sun State, without the slightest ability to resist. From this, it could be seen how terrifying Purple Sun State was. The key was that Purple Sun State's cultivation was only quasi-emperor, a monstrous character. Lu Ming made a comment in his heart. Hee interesting. The Storm Race's prodigy grinned, revealing a powerful fighting spirit. Just like this, Purple Sun State became the first person to enter the top 9. Let me do it. When Purple Sun State stepped onto the battle platform, Lu Ming stepped out and went to draw lots. The remaining 8 people who were drawn lots had different feelings. Some hoped to be drawn by Lu Ming. Although Lu Ming defeated Han Feng and Guan Lianbi, he was not that freakish. Among the remaining prodigies, apart from Purple Sun State and Storm Race's prodigies, there were a few people who were also very terrifying with extremely powerful combat strength. In their view, these few people were stronger than Lu Ming. They did not want to encounter them even more. Of course, there were also people who were unwilling to be drawn by Lu Ming. It was one of the 2 9th-level Divine Lords. Lu Ming could not be bothered with these people's thoughts. He casually drew a bamboo stick and picked it up to take a look. Lu Ming revealed a trace of an inexplicable smile. Hu Dao. This was the name that Lu Ming drew. Lu Ming had an impression of this person. He was the only 9th-level Divine Lord in the lot drawn. Hu Dao. Lu Ming spat out a name. That youth called Hu Dao revealed a trace of a bitter smile. The miracle that he wanted to wait for did not happen in the end. Right now, among the 18 people, there were only 2 9th-level Divine Lords left. One was drawn and one was drawn. To be honest, those quasi-emperor prodigies, including Lu Ming, would most likely lose if they were matched up against Hu Dao. His only hope was to be drawn by another 9th-level Divine Lord. Only then would he have a chance of winning. But this probability was too small. In the end, he did not encounter them. He actually drew Hu Island. Mu Yin is really lucky. My luck is indeed good. I picked up a bargain and entered the top 9. I'm so jealous. Many people sighed, thinking that Lu Ming's luck was too good. Sect leader Wang was also overjoyed. Happiness came too suddenly. Lu Ming actually drew Hu Dao, which was almost guaranteed to enter the top 9. Entering the top 9 would give him 500 points. In this way, the Fengdu Sword Sect would surely enter the top 10. How could he not be happy? The Hall Master of the Black Blood Hall coldly snorted with a dark expression. The Black Blood Hall had always been at odds with the Plentiful City Sword Sect. Seeing the Plentiful City Sword Sect enter the top 10 and obtain good resources, he was naturally unhappy. As for Han Feng, Qi Ping, and the others, they were even more displeased. Do you want to fight? Lu Ming asked from the fighting ring. Hu Dao's battle prowess was a notch lower than Han Feng, Guan Lianbi, and the others. He was no match for him at all. Please advise me, Brother Mu. Hu Dao cupped his fists. He did not want to admit defeat before the battle started. It would be embarrassing. Lu Ming did not say anything else. After the Great Sky Sect leader announced the result, Lu Ming's figure burst out and launched a fierce attack. The result was obvious. Hu Dao could not withstand Lu Ming's attack. After 2 moves, he coughed out blood and was blasted out of the fighting ring. Lu Ming entered the top 9 and won 500 points for the Plentiful City Sword Sect. The Plentiful City Sword Sect's points reached 2,000 points. They were firmly in the top 10. After Lu Ming, the Black Blood Hall's Wei Jin entered the ring. He chose a quasi-emperor level Sky Pride and the two fought fiercely. The battle was intense. The two exchanged hundreds of moves. In the end, Wei Jin won slightly and defeated his opponent to enter the top 9. In this way, the Black Blood Hall's points were slightly higher than the Plentiful City Sword Sect's. The Black Blood Hall's Hallmaster smiled and glanced at sect leader Wang proudly. The battle continued. Following that, almost all the battles were fierce. Only 2 of the battles were one-sided. One was the Battle of the Sky Pride from the Storm Tribe, and the other was the Battle of the last 9th level Divine Lord. The outcome was decided very quickly. This time, the competition took more than 2 days to determine the outcome of all the matches. The top 9 were born. Among the top 9, the Great Sky Sect occupied 2 spots, and their points were almost 5,000 points. They were far ahead and it was difficult for the other forces to catch up. Following that, it was the battle for the top 9. The rules of the battle for the top 9 changed again. They did not draw lots but took turns to fight like in the previous group matches. The top 9 took turns to fight against the other 8. For every victory, they would be awarded 200 points. Moreover, the top 3 would be rewarded with additional points. The first place would be rewarded with 600 points. The second place would be rewarded with 400 points. The third place would be rewarded with 200 points. The 4th place to the 9th place would not be rewarded. That was to say, whoever could win 8 consecutive matches and get first place would get another 2,400 points. I will give you 1 day to recover. After 1 day, the last round of the competition will begin. The Great Sky Sect leader announced. Previously, some people had gone through intense battles and were exhausted. At this moment, they quickly sat down cross-legged and swallowed elixirs to recover. Lu Ming was not exhausted. His heart that was pierced by Han Feng had already recovered. A day's time passed very quickly. Alright, let's begin the final ranking battle. The first round, Purple Sun State versus Wei Jin. The Great Sky Sect leader announced. I admit defeat. Wei Jin admitted defeat without hesitation. This was no longer an elimination round, but a battle to determine the rankings. Moreover, each victory would award 200 points. Wei Jin knew that he was no match for Purple Sun State, and admitted defeat without hesitation. Alright, Purple Sun State wins this battle. The next battle, Feng Peng vs Chao Siyuan. The Great Sky Sect leader announced the next battle. Feng Peng was the name of the Sky Pride from the Storm Tribe. I admit defeat. Chao Siyuan admitted defeat without hesitation. The next battle, Mu Yun vs Yuan Qi. Finally, it was Lu Ming's turn. Swoosh swoosh. 2 figures moved. Lu Ming and another young man, Yuan Qi, landed on the fighting ring at the same time. No one will admit defeat in this battle. I wonder who is stronger between Mu Yun and Yuan Qi. It's hard to say. Yuan Qi's strength is also very shocking. He is definitely stronger than Han Feng. There will be a good show to watch. Seeing that it was Mu Yun and Yuan Qi, many people were filled with anticipation. Boom. Before the Great Sky Sect leader made the announcement, the auras of the two collided and created a strong gust of wind. Following the command of the Great Sky Sect's sect master, the 2 figures dashed out and collided violently. Boom. It was as though 2 planets had collided. The sky shook violently and the 2 figures retreated. However, in the next instant, they charged towards each other again. Violent explosions continued to ring out. Those with weaker cultivation could only see the 2 figures flashing in the sky, and the sky shaking continuously. Chapter 3772. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and Yuan Qi had exchanged dozens of blows, but there was no clear winner. Amazing! Lu Ming exclaimed in his heart. The prodigies of the top clans who had reached the rank of quasi-emperor were indeed extraordinary. At this moment, Lu Ming had activated the battle formula to triple his combat strength, but he still couldn't do anything to Yuan Qi. There was a huge gap between a quasi-emperor and a divine emperor. It was an insurmountable gap. If the gap between a quasi-emperor and a divine emperor was divided into 10 levels, Yuan Qi would be around the 5th level. With such combat strength, killing an ordinary quasi-emperor would be as easy as pie. Roar. In the midst of the battle, Yuan Qi let out a beast-like roar. His strength had increased by a little. He was roughly at the 6th level between a quasi-emperor and a divine emperor. He forced Lu Ming to take a few steps back. Lu Ming is going to lose. Someone exclaimed. Humph, he's finally going to lose. Han Feng, Qi Ping, and the others' eyes lit up. Han Feng's injuries had recovered by 80%, but his face was still bruised. He didn't leave because he wanted to stay and watch Lu Ming get beaten up by others. Now that he finally saw that Lu Ming was going to be defeated, he felt more or less at ease. Unfortunately, he was going to be disappointed again. Boom. Lu Ming's aura surged again. He had activated the battle formula to quadruple his combat strength. Boom. Lu Ming punched out, and a large number of secret techniques burst out from his cells. Of course, they were hidden and formed a violent fist energy that blasted towards Yuan Qi. This time, Yuan Qi's body shook violently, and he couldn't help but retreat. What? The spectators were all shocked. Lu Ming hadn't used his full strength before, but now, he could unleash even more strength. How was that possible? He was only a 5th level divine lord. Could his strength be limitless? Han Feng and Qi Ping's faces were deathly pale. Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. How they wished that everything they saw was fake, that they were dreaming. Unfortunately, reality was cruel. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming gained the upper hand. His attacks were like a torrential storm, pressuring Yuan Qi to retreat repeatedly. Yuan Qi had already pushed his strength to the limit. There was no way for him to push it any further. He could only resist, but not fight back. Soon he was forced to the edge of the fighting ring by Lu Ming. I admit defeat. In the end, Yuan Qi loudly admitted defeat. If he continued to fight, he could still hold on for a while, but it was almost impossible for him to turn defeat into victory. If he continued to fight, he would only consume more energy, which would affect the later battles. Therefore, he simply admitted defeat. As soon as Yuan Qi admitted defeat, Lu Ming retreated and withdrew his power. Yuan Qi also flew out of the fighting ring, took out some medicinal pills and swallowed them. He was doing his best to recover and wait for the next fight. Lu Ming obtained a winning streak and obtained 200 points. After Lu Ming left the fighting ring, it was the others' turn to fight. Those who could make it to the top 9 were all quasi-emperor level geniuses. Moreover, they were all quasi-emperor level geniuses with extremely powerful combat strength. Therefore, the following battles were all very exciting. Of course, other than Feng Peng and Ziyangzhou, there were 2 other youths who had terrifying combat strength. They were even stronger than Yuan Qi, which attracted Lu Ming's attention. The 2 of them did not have to fight too hard to win. Soon, the first round was over and it was time for the second round. In the second round, Lu Ming's opponent was not as strong as Yuan Qi, so Lu Ming did not have to fight too hard to win. However, there was another battle that attracted everyone's attention. It was the battle between Feng Peng of the Stormwind clan and Hao Han. Hao Han was one of the 2 peak-level experts other than the Violet Sun Prefecture and Wind Rock. These 2 people were considered to be existences second only to the Violet Sun Prefecture and Wind Rock. However, this was merely a belief. No one could say for sure that Hao Han wouldn't be able to contend against Wind Rock and the Violet Sun Prefecture. This time, it seemed to be able to prove it. Boom. The 2 of them did not say anything else and immediately started fighting. Feng Peng of the Stormwind clan seemed to have turned into a gale. Every time he moved, a terrifying gale would burst out. This gale was not an ordinary gale. It was formed by a terrifying divine force. It could easily tear apart a divine weapon. Feng Peng displayed strength that was far beyond the quasi-emperor realm from the start. However, Hao Han wasn't simple either. He held a snow-white crystalline longbow in his hand. His aura surged as he knocked an arrow. Every time he drew the bow, several arrows would fly out. Each arrow contained a terrifying cold qi. As they flew through the air, they would leave behind a frozen stream of cold qi. The ice arrows and the gale clashed fiercely. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. What a terrifying attack. This kind of attack has reached the Divine Emperor realm. Some sect elders exclaimed. At this moment, Feng Peng and Hao Han's attack had completely surpassed the Quasi-Emperor realm, even surpassing Yuan Qi's. Yuan Qi was only at the 5th or 6th stage between the Quasi-Emperor realm and the Divine Emperor realm. However, Feng Peng and Hao Han's attack had already reached the Divine Emperor realm. The two of them could definitely fight against a Divine Emperor realm existence without being at a disadvantage. As Quasi-Emperors, their combat strength was comparable to Divine Emperors. How terrifying. Is Feng Peng's combat strength only at this level? I'm afraid he is no match for Xiang Prefecture. Someone doubted. Xiang Prefecture had obtained the Golden Crystal Core. To obtain the Golden Crystal Core, one must at least be able to kill a Divine Emperor realm wild beast. Even if one was extremely lucky and obtained the Golden Crystal Core from killing a Divine Emperor realm wild beast, one must be able to kill a Divine Emperor realm wild beast first. Fighting and killing were two completely different things. If Feng Peng only had this kind of combat strength, he would not be able to fight against Xiang Prefecture. Sure enough, Feng Peng's eyes were filled with battle intent when he saw that he could not defeat Hao Han after exchanging dozens of blows. Hao Han, is this the limit of your combat strength? If so, you shall be defeated. Original Spirit of Wind. Feng Peng roared. Boundless gale suddenly gathered and turned into a strange living being. This living being rode the wind. Every move of his could produce gale attacks that could tear the space apart. This was the original Spirit of Wind. In fact, the original Spirit of Wind was also a powerful primitive divine spirit. However, it was more peculiar as it was born from the earliest elements of heaven and earth. Its strength was extremely terrifying and stronger than ordinary primitive divine spirits. Feng Peng's original Spirit of Wind was a primitive divine body that had reached an extremely high level. It could condense more than one drop of primitive divine blood. The combat strength that it could unleash was extremely shocking. Swoosh! Feng Peng had transformed into a wind primordial spirit. His speed was unbelievably fast. With a flicker, the sky was filled with his shadows. It was impossible to see where his true body was. Attacks came from all directions, attacking Hao Han. Hao Han shouted loudly as he knocked arrows on his bow. Swoosh! 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 Arrows flew out and fought against Feng Peng. However, after Feng Peng displayed the original Spirit of Wind, Hao Han was no match for him. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.